Hi guys, welcome to Easy Bio. Today our lesson is talking about movement in and out the cell. These are the points which should be covered according to the syllabus of IGCSE. Firstly, the material passes into and out the cell through cell membrane by one of the following processes, maybe by diffusion or osmosis or active transport or active uptake. Firstly, there is a relation between diffusion and osmosis. That's why we'll take the two definitions together to check the difference between the two definitions. First, diffusion is defined as the net movement of molecules from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. So we are moving from high to low concentration down concentration gradient through partially permeable membrane. So we have any particles, any molecules which moves from high concentration to low concentration through partially permeable membrane, they are diffusing. So the process is called diffusion. But the water molecules is completely different. We have the process of diffusion of water molecules is called osmosis. Osmosis is defined as the net movement of water molecules. So here we are talking only about the water molecules from a region of high water potential. We cannot say concentration in case of water, so it's better to write water potential. So it means the number of water molecules in the solution. So here high water potential to low water potential, down water potential through partially permeable membrane. The tricky point in this part, if we have any solution, just focus in the water molecules. As you see in the diagram, we have sugar molecules and we have water molecules, and we have in between the two solutions, which is concentrated and diluted one. What do we mean by concentrated? It means the water potential is less water potential, but here the diluted solution, it means the water potential is high. It means the number of water molecules high. So I have the glucose molecules and I have the water molecules. Which one is smaller? The water molecules. Which one can easily pass through the holes of the partially permeable membrane is the water molecules. So the water will move from higher water potential to lower water potential. So this shape will be, by the time I have here the solution and I have at the beginning, both are equal. So by the time the water molecules will move from this side to this side. So here the level of the solution increased and here decreased and here decreased, right? Because it moves from right to left, from right to left. Which molecules moves? Firstly the water molecule. That's why mainly the process which takes place very fast is the osmosis comparing to the diffusion. Yes, glucose molecules will diffuse from the higher to lower, but I'm talking about the time itself. I'm talking about the solution, or how can we solve the questions in past paper. If we have any solution, just focus on water molecules. Focus on the process of osmosis, because osmosis is faster than the diffusion. So it takes place faster. So the results will be according to the osmosis and the diffusion of water molecules. Is there any factors affecting the rate of diffusion? Actually, we have different factors, right? Okay, here I have the temperature. The temperature, increasing the rate of diffusion. How? Because the temperature increasing the kinetic energy of the molecules. So the random movement of molecules will be faster, so they diffuse faster. Difference in concentration gradients. If we have high concentration in one side and very low concentration on the other side, so the rate of diffusion will be faster. So the difference in concentration gradients, bigger or larger, will increase the rate of diffusion, and the diffusion rate will be faster. Third one, distance. If the distance is very short or thin layer, that's why in the lung alveoli we have thin layer. In case of the plant cell, we have the root hair cell with the thin layer of the cells. So that's why the diffusion takes place faster in case of short distance. The last one, surface area increases, so increasing the rate of diffusion. And by the way, one of our point or base in the basics of biology in IGCSE is the surface area. Increasing surface area, increasing the rate of any process, including the diffusion. Next, the importance of diffusion of gases and solutes. How? In our life we have different examples, depends on the diffusion. For example, the carbon dioxide which found in the air, it diffuses into the leaf for photosynthesis. Okay, so this is a kind of diffusion of gases inside it by diffusion of carbon dioxide to photosynthesize. The next point, the product of the photosynthesis itself is the oxygen. The oxygen diffuses out the leaf, okay, by diffusion from higher concentration to lower concentration in the air. Okay, also we have glucose, amino acid in small intestine. We have in small intestine, they high after eating the meal, after digestion, we have high concentration of glucose and amino acids inside the small intestine, which diffuse inside from the small intestine into the bloodstream by diffusion. Even inside the lung, we have oxygen which enters into the blood from the lung by diffusion. So this is another importance of the diffusion. Mineral ions in the soil which dissolved in the water, it diffuses inside the plant cell or the root hair cell by diffusion. So we have different importance for the diffusion in our life. Next point, cells and osmosis. What is the effect of the different concentrations of solutions on the cells, whatever it's a plant or animal cell? Firstly, we'll start with the plant cell. This is the normal plant cell in the normal solution, but if we increased the concentration of the solution, so when we put plant cell in a concentrated solution, what will happen? It becomes flaccid. Why? Because the water moves from the cell out, diffuses from the cell out the cell itself, so the water escapes out. So the cytoplasm shrinks. As you see, cytoplasm shrinks, and in some cases complete disappearance of the sap vacuole, as you see in the diagram. In this case, we are saying the cell becomes flaccid, very weak, by the way, so it will be not able to carry any mass, and you can see this in different questions in past paper. And by the way, the length of the plant itself becomes shorter. Why? Because there is shrinkage of the cytoplasm. But is there any difference in the cell membranes, cell wall itself? No, there is no difference in cell wall. As we said, the cell wall is permeable and it's cellulose, non-living tissue, so there is no response. Here we have, if we add this in diluted or pure water, so the water gets in, the water diffuses inside the cell itself, so it's absorbed in by the help of sap vacuole increased in size and gives something called turgor pressure or water pressure acting against the cell wall, so increasing the cell and becomes very firm, or we can say it's turgid. But you have to know that there is no bursting in case of plant cell. Why? Because we have the strong layer which is called cell wall, which formed of or made up of cellulose. Here, in case of animal cell, the situation is completely different. The scenario will be completely different, because here if we have concentrated the red blood cell, for example, as an example of animal cell, if we added it in concentrated solution, so the water will leave the cell becomes crenated, as you see. Shrinkage of the cell, the whole cell becomes crenated, as you see. But if we add this cell in diluted or pure water, so the water will move inside the cell, but we don't have any layer of protection, we don't have cell wall. That's why the cell will burst. The cell will burst. As you see here, we are saying the ghost of red blood cell, just membrane left behind, but the whole content of the cell will release out because of bursting of the cell. Here, bursting of the animal cell because there is no cell wall. What is the importance of osmosis in water uptake by the plants? Here, as we said, osmosis means the water potential, at the beginning the water potential in the soil is higher than the water potential inside the root hair cell, so the water diffuses inside the root hair cell and then taken by the xylem to reach the leaves, and the leaves will take it by the help of chloroplasts and photosynthesize to produce the food, which is glucose and oxygen, which diffused out for the air, or the balance of the gases in the air. The third point, active transport. Firstly, what is the meaning of active transport? Active transport defined as movement of membrane molecules from a region of lower concentration to a region of higher concentration, and this case against or up. In case of diffusion and water, it's down the concentration gradients, but here against or up the concentration gradients, and because it's against the concentration gradients, it needs energy. That's why whenever the active transport takes place, we can see a lot of mitochondria are there. Is there any examples? Yes, actually we have in case of human being, we have in small intestine. In small intestine, after the digestion, we have high concentration of glucose and amino acid. At the beginning, they are diffusing by the help of diffusion from higher concentration to the lower concentration. But by the time the concentration decreases because it moves to the bloodstream. So now the concentration in blood becomes more than inside the small intestine. That's why it moves from lower to higher by the active transport. That's why one of the common adaptations of the small intestine, presence of high number of mitochondria, which is needed for respiration to produce the energy needed for active transport. In case of plant, we have the root hair cells. The root hair cells, the water minerals dissolved in the water in the soil, and they diffuse at the beginning from higher concentration from the soil itself to lower concentration inside the cell by diffusion. But by the time the concentration decreases, so it moves from the soil, which is lower concentration, to higher concentration by active transport against. That's why we need energy. That's why one of the adaptation of the root hair cell, presence of high number of mitochondria. So whenever you see the active transport, so the mitochondria should be in high number in this place. So here the last point in our lesson, how protein molecules move particles across membrane during active transport. As you see here, we have a special, in cell membrane we have a special protein which is called carrier protein. This carrier protein takes or recognizes the particles, okay, and they carry it by the help of energy which is produced by the cells, by respiration, by mitochondria, and it takes it from out to in the cell, inside the cell. After releasing the cell surface, this is cell surface membrane, after releasing of these particles which needed to be transferred from out to in the cell, from out to in the cell, so this carrier protein returns to collect more of the same particles. One of the most important point, because it's very updated, very new part in the IGCSE syllabus. Thanks for watching.